It is the goal for many people to live the life you want, to have control over your finances and the choices you make. But just decades ago, that was only a dream for many black people in St. Louis. But a protest in the 1960s in the heart of the city restored the ability for black people to achieve financial freedom. First Lord 4's Taylor Holt explains.
I have a dream today.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s March on Washington, 1963.
Baseball refreshing itself once more.
Jackie Robinson's Major League debut, 1947. Big milestones ingrained in black history, in American history, paving the way for other change holding just as much weight.
There has been struggle that has brought about change, but it's almost like it's invisible.
Change Percy Green was a part of.
They know more about Jackie Robinson and his situation with the Brooklyn Dodgers than the Jefferson Bank protest here in the city of St. Louis. What goes through my mind is how much of this is still unknown by both communities, both black and white.
Those priceless snapshots in St. Louis history, still vivid memories for Green, pointing to the people and places his feet stood firm. He was on the front lines fighting for civil rights and a key part of the Jefferson Bank protests in the 1960s.
Prior to that time, there was an incident in East St. Louis pertaining to the banks. They were protesting that the banks were not making loans to black businesses and not servicing the black community there.
Green, a member of the Congress of Racial Equality, or CORE, says it raised the question about Jefferson Bank in St. Louis, which had moved from a mostly black community to a predominantly white area.
CORE sent some representatives to Jefferson Bank to inquire about black employment, only to learn that Jefferson Bank had moved and whatever few blacks that they had was no longer there, thereby causing CORE to make a demand of 4 black tellers.
The bank refused, sparking the Jefferson Bank protests on August 30th, 1963.
Please leave our premises forthwith.
We conducted a daily picket line there at the bank.
Roughly 17 weeks of protests, 19 black and white protesters arrested. In January 1964, the bank gave in, hiring 4 black workers, sparking a domino effect for St. Louis's civil rights movement. And it led to this. Yes, that's Percy Green scaling the arch in protest.
That happened July 14th of 1964.
Construction of the arch started in 1960, but when Green and others found no black contractors were working the job, they questioned the general contractor, who said they couldn't find any qualified black people.
Eventually, discussion broke down, and we decided that we had to carry on some form of direct action.
Though Green lost his job, his fight for equality persevered.
As a result of protests, and especially civil disobedience, I saw change.
And talks about developing a black bank arose.
Back then, banks did not lend to us, so that made it impossible to get a car. It made it impossible to buy a home and even start a business. And on top of that, back in those times, it was challenging for African Americans to get white-collar positions at banks.
In comes George Montgomery, a St. Louis native, Vashon High School and SLU grad. His daughter telling his story.
He gathered group minority leaders that were in St. Louis, and they had those initial meetings in his living room where they pulled their heads together and they developed their strategy and their plan.
The founders, with backgrounds from business to medicine, started Gateway National Bank, the first and only minority-owned commercial bank in Missouri, in June 1965. Kelly remembers her first experiences at the bank fondly.
My dad brought me here when I was 16 years old, and I opened up my first checking and savings account at Gateway National Bank. And, you know, he had told me that this was the bank that he founded. So I knew then, you know, that my dad was something special.
Gateway Bank operated until 2009 when the bank fell on hard times and was bought by Central Bank of Kansas City. Then in 2012, the bank announced its closure.
It was something that we knew we wanted to get in and save because the residents of North St. Louis City truly deserve that.
In 2016, the bank opened back up as St. Louis Community Credit Union with a goal to preserve Gateway's history.
As soon as you turn into our lot, you will see a plaque that pays homage to Gateway Bank. There's actually bricks that are part of that display that were from the original building.
And on the inside, a love letter to its founders.
When you go into our lobby, we have a display of the courageous founders up for everyone to see.
Today, the credit union is recognized as one of the nation's largest Black-owned minority depository institutions.
Everyone deserves, no matter what your zip code is, what color your skin is, everyone deserves to have access to financial dignity.
More than 60% of their membership is people of color, though past historical inequities still ring loud. In fact, Black families own about 23 cents for every $1 of white family wealth on average.
So that racial wealth divide is real.
The work to bridge that divide continues, but the foundation's been set.
For me personally, standing on the shoulders of the people who came before us speaks volumes. They made it easier for us to pave the way so we can reach back and do the same.
It's everything Green and others fought for.
What has been accomplished, I'm satisfied to a great degree.
Taylor Holt, First Alert 4.